invite Pranav to render the invocation song.
Shri Ganapataye Namah Mangalamurati Sharanam Mama Vidyadayaka Bodhi Pradayaka Anandavarana Atma Prakasha Hari Shri Ganapataye Namah Karma Vidayaka Shubha Phaladayaka Ananda Varada Atma Prakasha Hari Shri Ganapataye Namah Hari Shri Ganapata Hari Sare Nini Mare Sani Nini Sani Pa Hari Shri Ganapataye Namah Nini pa 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 ma pa re ma pa ni sa re ma re re sa sa ni pa pa ma re sa ni ma pa ni sa sa re ma pa ni sa sa re ma pa ni sa sa Hari Shri Ganapataye Namah.
Thank you, Pranav. I now request Professor Dr. T.R. Subramanian, Dean, CMI University School of Legal Studies, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries for their gracious presence. I deem it a great privilege to welcome the Chairman of the CMR Group of Institutions, Sri K.C. Ramamurthy, IPS, retired, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, who is presiding the function. On behalf of our Chairman, the Chancellor, Board of Governors, we welcome Professor Dr. Rakesh Sinha, nominated member of the Rajya Sabha, who has kindly consented to deliver the keynote address of this August function. Professor Sinha has been serving as Professor of Political Science in the University of Delhi and has authored a number of wonderful books, and he is a regular resource person to the national TV channels on current topics. He is also serving as the director of the Indian Policy Foundation, a non-profit research organization which is established with the sole motto of exploring constructive solutions to the contemporary problems facing our society. While welcoming you, I request our Honorable Chairman to present a bouquet of flowers to our esteemed chief guest.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sirs. Moving ahead, I would now like to invite Professor Dr. Rakesh Sinha, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, for a keynote address.
Grounds President Sri K.S. Ramamurthy ji, Chairman CMR Group of Institutions, Sri V. Nagaraj ji, Honorary Secretary, Metric Society, Justice A.B. Chandrasekhar, former Judge of Karnataka High Court, Dr. Subramaniam, Sista Ramurthy, and Dr. Praveen, ladies and gentlemen. Ramurthy is my friend, and he made me the president of the search committee for who delivered the keynote address. And the chairman of the search committee selected himself to deliver the lecture. In fact, we were searching the right person, and one day I got the call from Ramurthy that you have to deliver the lecture. I saw the institutions and I came to the conclusion after number of visits in Bangalore that the fulcrum of intellectualism has shifted in India from north to south, that too in Bangalore. It is not merely the city of science and software, but also a city which is doing a lot of rigorous work in social sciences. The city which has large number of learned people, having low profile, and contributing not only for the contemporary discourse, but for the objective of resurrecting India's civilization. Those who do the work, they don't realize what they are doing. It is the posterity which defines the role of the past. So therefore, the work done by you and the process starting in Karnataka will have a very long-term impact in India's future and posterity. And I congratulate Ramurthy for two reasons. Being a parliamentarian, we have 800 parliamentarians. So there are very few, and I call him exceptional, that he devotes time, energy, and focuses on educational development. Institution making for profit, and institution making for social and national concern, both are different things. I keep him second category, that he is making the institution. Secondly, I learned two things from him. And I think if I would internalize that, it would be a great benefit for me. Time management and doing work with focus. Taking even a small work with great seriousness. So you are lucky that you have a chairman who has exceptional qualities and attributes. Second reason for congratulating him is that CMR group of institutions is the first university which started Center on the Study of New India. For some people it may be what is old India, what is new India. How can you differentiate between the two? So my task is to make you realize the real content of New India. How a distinction can we make in the post-independent India? There exists two sets of India due to attributes, due to the process of development, due to its own characteristic. It is also a very important occasion that we are at the 75th year of India's independence, which is known as Amrit Mahotsav. On that occasion, this center has been started. If I start with the freedom movement, freedom movement was not merely a movement to get independence or get political independence from the British rule. It was more than political. It was a movement to restore the dignity of people. It was a movement to restore the concept of justice at the international arena. No power of earth has right to rule over others. That India's freedom movement established because this movement was not a sectarian movement. While we were fighting for our independence, our delegates also attended Brussels Anti-Apartheid Conference 1928, 27-28, and demanded that all racial discrimination should end. While we are struggling for our own independence, we are showing solidarity with Africa and Latin America. Therefore, out of all the liberation movements of the world, India's independence movement, due to its peculiar characteristics, and that characteristics is not the product of the contemporary political leadership. That characteristic is in continuation of India's civilizational characteristics. What is that civilizational characteristics? That civilizational characteristic is that India is the only exceptional land. I am not exaggerating. Where the land and people together are engaged in continuous, with undiminished enthusiasm, unbroken chain, the experiments. Generally, we find that experiments, the word experiment is related to science, natural science, but not. In India, the experiment with the life, quest for the truth. That's why you will find that all the Indian thinkers and Indian texts, right from ancient India to the contemporary India, any thinker you take, whether he is spiritual, political, social or cultural, geographically he will think in terms of Prithvi, earth. Nation gets subdued importance. We talk about the nation because it is a contemporary pressure of the world politics. Otherwise, all the Indian texts, whether Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, or right from Suvarnam Bharati to Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, or Tribalua to Eknath, everybody thinks in terms of earth. Geographically, we think about the earth, and on the horizon of thought, we think in terms of universe. We transcend the limit of earth. Universality and transcending the narrow geographical area is a two important features of Indian civilization. That's why we have umpteen dialects, languages, sects, and millions of ways of life, multitudes of ways of life. You cannot define a particular way of life, particular food habit, particular uniform as the Indian uniform. You crosses the particular area and you will find a new uniform, new way of life, new food. So in India, there is no food fascism, there is no dress fascism, there is no thought fascism. Nowhere in the world, such freedom people get and the land allows. So this is exceptional. There is experiment in other places also, no ways of life, thoughts, freedom of thought. But they are centralized control. There is a selective independence. You cannot transcend the particular limits. Here you can transcend the limit. There is Charvak, there is Sankaracharya. Just opposite viewpoints, without crossing the swords. So another feature of Indian civilization is that power of logic, not the power of thought. हम तलवार की ताकत में नहीं, तर्क की ताकत में विश्वास करते हैं. This is the peculiar feature of the Indian civilization. Biggest attack on the knowledge system was made on India when Nalanda University was burnt. Still, we never thought in terms of taking revenge. We restarted our process of knowledge. 8,000 students were killed. 2,000 teachers were assassinated, which included the teachers and students from China, Tibetan and other parts of the world. 1 crore books were burnt. 10,000 manuscripts were burnt. In the last speech in the Parliament on Indian knowledge system, I mentioned that how the idea of Europe is dominating India. If an elephant dies in India, that is not a matter of discourse. An ant dies in Europe, that is a matter of centralized discourse. University Library of Alexandria was burnt and was closed down. It has only 7 lakhs books. Nobody was killed. Only 7 lakhs books. We have 10 lakhs manuscripts. 1 crore books. It took 3 months. When the burning process, 3 months. But you will find that when Google search, 11 crore search for the Library of Alexandria, Great Library of Alexandria, and Alexandria Library 3 crore. Total 14 crore searches. For Nalanda University, there are only 71 lakh searches. See the magnitude of difference between the focus. See the magnitude of difference between the locus standi of the 2 libraries and 2 universities. This shows that domination of Europe on our idea, our mind, and the hegemony of Europe. Now I am coming to this new India. Before that, I was mentioning that how Indian civilization, contemporary civilization, also inherits the diversity. I am giving 2 examples. The freedom of speech and freedom of expression and diversity. I am not going to very old. One medieval example of 16th century. Sant Eknath. He had having to go for bath every day, Godavari river. One day some hooligans, in Hindi we call Vidharmi, those who are opposed to purity, those who are opposed to the established social values, decided to obstruct. When he was coming back after bath, he spit on him. Sant Eknath returned to river and took bath. Again he came. He again spit on him. The process continued. He continued spitting on him. He continued to taking bath. It took almost half a day. Eventually that person fell down at his feet and he had forgiven. This shows the extreme tolerance India inherits. Second example, I am giving the freedom of expression from the modern contemporary events. When Constituent Assembly was in sitting, there was discussion of framework. You must have heard the name of H.V. Kamath. He was one of the most active members of Constituent Assembly. Also a great parliament here. He brought an amendment that God should be mentioned in the framework. Now there was discussion. Purnima Banerjee, another member of the Constituent Assembly, requested him, kindly don't embarrass the Constituent Assembly by putting God for vote. Now God would be issue for voting. H.V. Kamath, accompanied by Sibbalal Sachin, another member, emphasized that Irish Constitution mentions. Some people oppose that. Why are you forcing others who don't believe in God to take solemn affirm in the name of God? They were voting. Most of the members on 17th October 1949, most of the members remained absent. They were not in the position to say yes or no, but some members were there. 68 votes, by 68 votes, the amendment of H.V. Kamath was rejected, but there still 41 votes in favor of H.V. Kamath. This is the country when God could be put on the votes and there is no violence, even the violence of words. That's why at this juncture of nation's history, we have to maintain that liberalism, that democratic values, that freedom of expression to the highest extent and resurrecting the power of logic instead of power of force, power of swords. This responsibility, the nature, the time is bestowing upon us, and we have to do that. At this occasion, when there is Amit Mahotsav. And I am talking of the diversity, I am giving other example. Meghalaya, where I adopted a village called Tham, that is a whistling singing village. A film was made, My Name You. A mother has 3 children. All the children has the same name. By the vibration of sounds, everybody is called. Same name by them. This shows that diversity can exist with oneness. There are not dichotomous relations between diversity and oneness. Because if root is the same, mother is the same root. So Bharat Mata is the same root. If you accept Bharat as a Mata, then umpteen diversities, any kind of diversities can exist. If you don't accept Bharat as a Mata, then every diversity will be the question of identity, question of separatism in future, seed of separatism. Another thing, what is very important, we always talk about the idea of India. This is a question before all of you. Because every time in contemporary discourse, people mention about the constitution, preamble of the constitution, and say that constitution being annihilated. Some people allege. Some people say, teach each other that follow the constitution. I am putting a question before the learned audience. Whether constitution is the product of idea of India or idea of India is product of the constitution. Had there not been diversities, internalized diversities in this country, when in Kerala, Malvar, a mosque was converted in within 24 hours, a temple was converted into mosque, that is a Cheraban mosque, because the king found that Muslim traders were doing ibadat in the streets. Such kind of tradition of secularism in this country. When Parsis came, there was no communication due to gap of language. He requested a piece of land. The king sent 1 glass milk on Sanjan port. No, land is full because he was not sure that what kind of people would be and the civil society would be disrupted. The Parsis mixed sugar in the milk and sent back. And the king realized that the message is that we will mix in the indigenous people. And that happened. In the first session of the Indian National Congress, 1885, out of 72 delegates, 59 were Hindus, 2 Muslims, the second largest community, 2 Christian, third largest community, and 9 Parsis. The Parsis who constituted less than 0.0047% had 9 representatives in the first. That's always happened in the second Congress, third session, fourth session, fifth session. So we are the people who love diversity, who love assimilation. Diversities without assimilation, assimilation without diversity, both are dangerous. So both are just like inmates. They live together, they go together, their civilization does not remain unevolved. If you want to evolve this civilization, you have to do that. Now the challenge before us is between. We have to choose between Meghalaya and G.S. Mill on the one hand, and Mahatma Gandhi and Maharishi Aurobindo on the other hand. So dichotomy in India is between Meghalaya and Mill on the one hand, Mahatma and Maharishi on the other. So how this 2014 marks the beginning of a new India? What is the reason? Why we say new India? Why Prime Minister calls it a new India? Is it because Prime Minister Narendra Modi became Prime Minister? Is it because Bharatiya Janata Party came into power? Is it because the ideology of the RSS becoming the focus of discourse? No, not at all. These are not the factors of India becoming a new India. 2014 is not merely the change of guards, change of ideology, change of rulers. It ushers three revolutions. First revolution is social revolution. How it is the social revolution? Democracy is not merely choosing the government. If democracy is that democracy is a structural democracy. Substantive democracy is different from structural democracy. We all vote, but we consider that our votes and those people who have no house, homeless people, they don't have education, they are illiterate. Quantitatively, their votes are equal because there is adult franchise. But the value of vote differ. Value of vote not in terms of one vote counts 4, one vote counts 1. Why one is voting? Rich people vote to maintain their status quo. Their aspiration is that their status quo should remain intact. No government should come to disturb and disrupt. The middle class vote for more luxury, more facilities. This is one kind. Those people who are homeless, illiterate, no income, they vote to maintain their minimum identity. Get the help, solicit the help of the rulers, whether it is a corporator, MLA, MP, Minister, Prime Minister or President of India, whether Parliament or Assembly, they expect minimum help. Help of thousands, help of hundreds. This is difference between the vote by the poor and vote by the rich. This continued since 1952 to 2014. How do 2014 changes? Development without equal distribution, a development without dignity is a farce. If you are giving somebody some water and food, but not in a dignified manner, that person is not happy to receive that food. What happened? When millions of people were not open for their natural cause, there were restricted options for them. Particularly women, lack of toilets at home. So the restriction on their options, when to go, time limit. No government since 1952 ever thought my mother and sisters in rural areas suffering from this was their basic dignity was under question and threat. Every day they were fighting. They had been fighting. And still some people are fighting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 2nd October 2014 declared open defecation free country and 11 crore toilets have been constructed. 11 crore. Means 11 crore households were deprived of all these things. Got the toilets. Second important thing that a person without home, without a permanent shelter, you are keeping him in democratic process. He is under the burden of shelter. He is under the burden of bread and butter. And you are asking that you are equal, democratically equal? Not at all. So Prime Minister again in 2017, 15th August, on 69th Independence Day declared house for all. And 1.7 crore house completed and allotted to the people in time bound. He fixes the target, he fixes the tools, and things are achieved. I'll give you another example. I don't know how many of you belong to rural area or visit rural area visited rural area before 2014. I used to go my village home. Main problem was electricity during the summer. There was electricity, so we used to avoid going rural area, our village home during the summer. 18,374 de-electrified villages without electricity, were provided electricity on 28th October 2018. The nation declared that all de-electrified villages are now electrified. These are the things, there are umpteen things. Millions of people were outside the banking system. You see, what is the importance of merely having an account? You go and ask the poorest of the poor, what is the importance? Now, during the COVID regime, we realized that what is the importance? How the money reached to them, and how the 100 paisa, in 1 rupee is not 15 paisa, 100 paisa reached to them, middlemen eliminated. So this is a kind of social revolution this 2014 ushered, which earlier government never thought that. Constructing toilet was not impossible task. You could have made Patratu, we have made Bhilai, we have made Visakhapatnam. You could not have constructed toilets because it was not in the plan. Second revolution is the revolution of idea and culture. You know, in 1931, there was a lecture in Kolkata. That lecture was by Christian Bhattacharya. He said, the slavery, political slavery is visible, but cultural and idea slavery is not visible. It comes slowly. And when it comes, it enslaves you. It's very difficult to come out there. So Indian discourse remained completely Eurocentric. Quoting Indian scriptures and quoting Indian philosophers created a guilt conscience. Excessively we quoted, and generally we quoted Europe. Plato, Aristotle are being quoted, have been quoted since long. No importance of the development philosophy, no importance of Sonia Bharati's philosophy, no importance of Veda, Ramayana and Mahabharata. These are all religious scriptures. In India, the philosophy and spiritualism are twined together. You cannot separate each other. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, what he did, using the Indian resources, Indian knowledge system, Indian knowledge resources, he transformed the discourse. Raja Kalasya Karnam. When there was a question before Bhishma by Yudhishthira, whether king is the product of the context and the situation, or king creates situation, Bhishma said it is the king which creates the situation. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi changed the discourse of idea, changed the discourse on culture, using soft power, using Indian ideas. Now things are changing. So I consider that the great transformation, the discourse on idea. That's why I'm giving one example how it is important, because this is Amrit Mahotsav. You all must have the name of Shyamji Krishna Burma. He was a great revolutionary nationalist in London. He was hunted by the Britishers and he left London to Paris, then Paris to Geneva. He used to publish Indian Sociologist, a great magazine of thought. He inspired Lala Hardayal of Gadar Party and V.D. Savarkar, people like him. He died in 1930. Before his death, he wrote in his will that my ashes should go to India when India becomes independence. He died in 1930. India became 1947. Nobody took care of that. The Chief Minister of Gujarat in 2003, Narendra Modi, now Prime Minister, he brought his ashes from Geneva to India. It was India became 1947. See the treatment the Indian rulers, our own rulers, who became rulers due to the sacrifices of people like Shyamji Krishna Burma, how they neglected. I'm giving other example. This is man who did so. You know that India was not only victim of the British imperialism, it was also victim of the Portuguese colonialism. There was Goa Mukti Sangharsh. Mohan Ranade was arrested in 1960. In 1966, in Parliament, Atal Bihari Vajpayee raised the question, what government of India is doing to get released Mohan Ranade? He was sent last month. Mohan Ranade was under prison. He was the only son of his mother, Ramabai Apte. She was losing her eyesight. She wrote a petition. Before I lose my eyesight, just I want to see my son in the jail. Portuguese rejected how barbaric they are. They had not listened when a mother's petition. Red Cross Society forwarded her petition. Ultimately, when Vajpayee raised the question, what was the more important question? It was the Portuguese who were barbaric, but how much our government was barbaric to our own ancestors, those who brought freedom. We released 3,400 Portuguese soldiers and people without having a one condition of releasing Mohan Rana. This was the Nehru government. This was the government ruled by Modi's predecessors. So when we are organizing the Amrit Mahotsav, we are not organizing the Amrit Mahotsav to celebrate the elites of the freedom movement. We are organizing the Amrit Mahotsav for Matangani Hajra. We are organizing the Baji Raut of 12-year-old boy who was killed, who martyrdom in Orissa. Sisir Kumar Mehta, whose martyrdom at the age of 15 in Maharashtra. So this is the occasion when we are resurrecting our legacy of golden legacy of India's freedom, massive sacrifice for the building the Indian civilization and India's nation. Third, I'm ending with the third point. This is also an economic revolution. You know, without wealth, you cannot distribute. You can distribute assurances, but you cannot create equality. Even for equality, you have to pass through some melting pot. This government started creating wealth. We worship Lakshmi. Creating wealth is not a bad idea, but making wealth making us as a trustee of the wealth makes the wealth of social concern, of social use. So I'm giving you just two examples. Giving subsidies to 80 crore people, food at the time of crisis, is the lesson for the world community, is lesson for in India, those who are the rich, that without hearing the poorest of the poor, without having economic equilibrium, no society can be stable. No cultural development can take place if there inequality and people are fighting for their existence. So this kind of economic revolution is also one that when there was a question on ethics, you must have had the IBC code, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. What was that? Some big corporate and big business were eating our wealth, eating our public sector and the bank. NPA, non-profitable asset, had become pre-2014 as some respectable terminology. I hold NPA, so bank will forgive me thousands of crores. So I'm a big person. NPA means you are linked to the New Delhi. NPA means you are controlling the finance ministry. NPA means you have legitimate right to illegitimately eat the wealth of the people. In one stroke, Narendra Modi government scrapped almost 2.5 lakhs cell companies where the factory to create transforming black into white. 3 lakh crores came into the government fund. It is not important 3 lakhs came. It is important that process has ended. That unethical process, he fought against the class. We were not only rich class, they were not rich. They were frauds, doing frauds on the nation. So this kind of revolution of idea, revolution of culture, and economic revolution that ushered in the new India. So the new India is for evolving ideas. Study how the trends are taking place in social field, in economic field, in development, in the field of dignity. So we are forwarding ourselves toward the society of justice. If we think in our terms, we go and think in terms of the poorest of people without shelter, without food, without job. Now they are not the clients of the state, that the state is promising something. This new India has made them a stakeholder in the state. So they are not talking, there is an inequality of wealth, but now they are in the position to speak with dignity, to speak for the state, speak against the state. So we have created the class of the people. They are not merely beneficiaries, they are the stakeholders. To climb to stakeholders, this is a great transformation of ideas, great and vitality has been infused in the Indian system. And lastly, I would appeal all of you that in New India, we have to fight against the forces who are disruptive against our idea of diversities. And that diversity is not merely what we see. Diversity should be protected in its roots. Diversity which is seen and protection of diversity solicited is not the protection. Whether the root is same or not. Root is same means whether all the rivers flow towards a single sea or not. The identity politics is not the essence of Indian civilization. We believe in the assimilation, we believe in protecting different ideas, social ideas, cultural ideas. So there is a process of experimentation by the people, thinkers, scientists. So this land is a land of experiments by thinkers, scientists, and common people, and that creates the civilization. We are here to create civilization. We are here to resurrect our glory of civilization, progressive ideas of the past, to strengthen the present, to deliver for the posterity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. I would now want to invite our guest of honor, Sri V. Nagaraj, Honorary Secretary, the Mythic Society, to say a few words.
ನಮಸ್ಸರ್ವೇಭ್ಯಃ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆ ವಹಿಸಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆದರಣೀಯ ರಾಮಮೂರ್ತಿ ಅವರೇ, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ರಾಕೇಶ್ ಸಿನ್ಹಾ ಅವರೇ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಜಸ್ಟಿಸ್ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಅವರೇ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ರಾಮಮೂರ್ತಿ ಅವರೇ, ಸೋದರರೇ ಮತ್ತು ಸೋದರಿಯರೇ, ಈ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಅನೇಕರಿಗೆ ಈ ಕನ್ನಡ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಂತೆ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. At the outset, I thank the President Ramurthy ji and also especially Dr. Subramaniam ji for inviting me to deliver this lecture. When I saw the names of the speakers, what thought came to me is that I have been sandwiched between two luminaries. Just now, Professor Rakesh Sinha very beautifully illustrated how the inequities in justice is being elevated in this country. He gave so many examples. Definitely, the next speaker, who is a justice, to whom so many people would have gone to get their get injustice or unfairness to them, get redressed, he will give a beautiful speech, no doubt about it. I am a very layman. Basically, I am a science student turned to history and archaeology. So you can understand my predicament. So what I will be taking is a slightly different note regarding this inequity to justice. It will be a slightly different note. As Professor Rakesh Sinha has just now mentioned that we are celebrating the Amrit Mahotsav. And this Amrit Mahotsav, that our independence, which we call as our Swatantra, it was the result of sacrifice of thousands and thousands of freedom fighters. They were revolutionaries, they were satyagrahis, and they were spiritual leaders, Adhyatma Purushas. All of them had a great dream, and the dream was of a free and glorious Bharat. Deliberately I am using the word Bharat because, as Professor Sinha said, the moment I say Bharat, it gives a different connotation to us. If I say India, it is something. Our former Justice Rama Joyce used to say, how do you feel? What is the feeling you get when you say Bharat Mata Ki Jai? And what is the feeling when you say India Mata Ki Jai? You can understand. So that is why deliberately I am using the word Bharata now. And Swami Vivekananda, regarding this glorious dream, Swami Vivekananda, in one of his speeches, gave a clarion call to the people, what they should see, what should they visualize. Arise, awake, and see her seated here on her eternal throne, rejuvenated, more glorious than she ever was, the motherland of ours. This dream was echoed in the heart of every freedom fighter. Everybody wanted this dream to be realized. And all these freedom fighters, they were very much sure that they cannot realize this vision in their lifetime. But all of them sacrificed for their future generations, for our generations. Because they thought we all belong to this motherland. All generations past, present and future, they are children of this Bharat Mata. That means that fraternal bondage was there between the past, present and the future generation. Because of that fraternal bond, they were able to sacrifice for the sake of the country. And we say, Swamiji said, rejuvenated and more glorious. What do they mean? He wanted the people, every people in this country, without any class, caste, distinctions, every people of this country and every aspect of this country to be rejuvenated. That is what Swamiji wanted. In another speech, he says, just now as Professor Sinha said, how people should be uplifted, how all the differences should go, unfairness should go. Swamiji gave a clarion call at that time itself. He said, what he dreamt was, let the new India arise out of the peasant's cottage, grasping the plough, out of the hearts of the fisherman, the cobbler, the sweeper. Let her spring from the grocer shop, beside the oven of the fritter seller. Let her emanate from the factory, from the marts and from markets. Let her emerge from groves and forests. That the whole, he encompassed the whole country. From every tiny village to the big town, everybody, people living in it, they should be rejuvenated. That is what is dream. That is what I feel, that the topic inequity to justice, how it can be redressed and how it can be solved. That is what Swamiji meant, and everybody meant, every freedom fighter meant it. This is possible only when this injustice and unfairness in social, political and economic spheres of the society go. It arises, all of us know, because you are all legal students, and all of us know how this arises. It is because of bad governance and corruption, and also many times all these caste and other inequities. It is because of cultural exclusions. All this has to be redressed. During the last 7 decades, as Professor pointed out, major portion of our time was plagued with these maladies, and the result is all these things continue. Even in the economic field, where it will be very much glaring, these things will be very much glaring in the economic field. And we thought of many plans, and especially in the early years of our independence, we thought of a socialistic pattern of society. And I think it has been included in our constitution as amended. It was amended in 75 during emergency. Socialistic pattern, the socialism was introduced. And we know what is the result of socialism in our country. Nowhere in the world, socialistic principles have succeeded, nowhere in the world. Somewhere in 90s, liberalization came. To some extent, there was an all-round development, but not to the complete satisfaction of the people. And this is also because of the poor governance and other bad practices like corruption and other things. So liberalization is also not a panacea for our country. However, some of the schemes launched recently, as the professor mentioned, I am not going to in detail because he has already explained. Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Make in India, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Yojana, Mudra, Atal Innovation Missions, all these things, they have gone in a long way for the redressal of these things. And many a times, as already I said, these maladies, bad governance and corruption, these things interfere with these things also. I myself had one experience. One of my friend is a very poor person. He wanted to open a cloth and tailoring shop. He went to State Bank of India, which is in his area, to the manager. Manager studied him and he found out what is his economic status. And manager coolly told him that our branch doesn't have Mudra Yojana. See, he simply refused and said, our branch has no Mudra Yojana. He came to me. Then I spoke to a political social worker. He went to the manager. Manager immediately recognized who is a political man, so trouble will be there. He said he has not understood what I told in English. So our bank has got Mudra Yojana, and he sanctioned him 5 lakh rupees. See, this is what happens. This is unfairness, injustice. These things are to be addressed. When all these yojanas, all these plans, if they have to be successful, all these things has to be redressed. It is clear that whatever may be our yojanas, plans and other things, it is we human beings who are going to implement. For a corruption-free good governance, the change is to be in the minds and hearts of the people who are the implementers. When I mean implementers, it includes from the topmost person in the hierarchy of governance to the lowest person. Their hearts and mindset has to be changed. So slowly the change is coming. That is what we are seeing today. That is what he also spoke about, how this transformation is taking place. The transformation of heart is possible only when there is a feeling of fraternity, which will be if it prevails in the entire country, in the entire society, in the nation, then the change will come. And as legal students, all of you are aware that fraternity is also a constitutional value in the Constitution. And how to promote it? There is no need to create it. Many people say, and I was very much shocked to see that I don't want to mention the name, a very legal luminary, a person who held a very great position in the government. While writing a book, he says that the concept of nation, the concept of fraternity, the concept of oneness has to be inculcated in the country. They have to be developed. That is what he is writing. He is such a great person for a country which has got more than 5,000 years of history. And our archaeological excavations are proving that it is more than 5,000 years. And he is saying that oneness, fraternity and so many things has to be developed. It is not, there is no need to create it afresh. It is dormant. And whenever an occasion comes, it bursts open. During the freedom movement, it burst throughout the length and breadth of the country. And this is the feeling of fraternity among people of a nation. And this is due to the people's feeling towards their motherland. That is why I used the word Bharat. When you say Bharat Mata, all of us feel. Professor also told that one in his keynote address. When you say Bharata and Bharat Mata, then we feel that we belong to this land. That feeling of child and mother, it will be always there. And that creates the feeling of fraternity among all others. And it is an ancient thing. In our Yajurveda, it is Mata Bhumi, Putroham Prithivya. This land is my mother, I am its child. And similarly, lakhs of people in this country, even today, when I get up their morning, they will recite a sloka. Most of the people will be reciting that sloka. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvata Some people may not today do it because the moment they get up, they will be seeing the mobile. Otherwise, majority of the people will be reciting. And what they are telling? Humbly they are praying to Mother Earth that please pardon me because my feet will be touching you. It is inevitable. See, that is the relationship, mother and child relationship we foster in our hearts. And if this gets manifested, then the fraternity also grows in our country. That is what has to be done. Regarding this child and mother relationship, one incident came across, I will tell you. How people feel. Some 25 years ago, I was touring in Shivamoga district with a co-worker. It was the month of December. The cold was very biting. In the morning at 5:30, we stopped near a wayside shop, a roadside shop, for a cup of coffee. Two women who were road construction laborers, they had also come there at 5:30 to take a cup of coffee. And one of the women, her coffee, it spilled to the ground. The other woman, portion of it spilled to the ground. The other woman said, "Oh, you lost more than 1/3 cup of coffee." The woman who lost coffee, she said, "Don't worry, it is so cold. Mother Earth is also shivering, let her drink coffee." See, Mother Earth is shivering, let her drink coffee. An illiterate woman, she is not bothered about the loss of coffee. She is thinking of Mother Earth. So that is what we have got in our minds. That is dormant. That is to be promoted. For that we have to work. That is what is required when we have to get rid of all this injustice and unfairness. People should start feeling that the whole country is one and we are brothers and sisters. This has naturally had come to us from ancient times. Only thing is we have to promote it. But there is a minuscule group also in our country which shouts Bharat Tere Tukde Tukde Honge. And the most unfortunate thing about this is the regrettable aspect is, and these people are well educated, placed in universities, and many of them are fed through scholarships and salaries collected out of the taxes of such poor women. Such poor women would have given sales tax and other things, and out of that, their scholarships and salaries are fed, and they are shouting this slogan. Whereas that illiterate woman says it is Mother Earth. And this feeling of fraternity, as I already said, in a national crisis, it comes out. That we have seen during crisis of national crisis like war and natural disasters, and very recently during the times of COVID. How people responded to it. People without any connection, without any neither friendship nor relationship, people have responded to it. So this is most important, that if you want to eradicate such iniquities, the concept of fraternity, it has to be promoted. Because the whole national conscience, social conscience, that is to be tuned. Bharat Ratna Dr. Ambedkar said, rights are protected not by law. Rights are protected not by law, but by the social and moral conscience of the society. If social conscience is such that it is prepared to recognize the rights which law chooses to enact, rights will be safe and secure. Same thing applies to fraternity also. The whole country, the whole nation has to feel it. That is to be done. That is the most important. Before I concluding, because my time is running, before I conclude my talk, I would like to mention the philosophy of integral humanism, which is very much in tune with the topic we are speaking today. The salient feature, just in one sentence I will tell, the salient feature of the philosophy is that The whole universe, with all its animate and inanimate aspects, is interconnected. It is the manifestation of a single spiritual force. And Pandit Deendayal Upadhyaya has beautifully put it, this integral humanism. That is Ekatma Manava Darshan. In that, he clearly says that Veshti, that is the individual, is connected to Samashti, to the society. Without society, we are nowhere. And the Samashti, society, is connected to the universe, Srishti. Samashti is connected to Srishti. Everything we see around us, it is all connected, each of us are connected. And the whole Srishti is connected to Parameshti, to the Almighty. So it is Veshti, Samashti, Srishti, and then Parameshti. Modern science, modern physics is also tending towards the same conclusion. It is the cosmic energy. It is the pulsating cosmic energy in the whole universe, which gets condensed into the various forms. Whether it is a human being, or as an inanimate object, or a book, whatever it is a different pulsations, that's all. It is the same energy. It is also tending towards the oneness of the whole universe. That what brings us together, that oneness, that brotherhood. So when this concept of Bharatiya Chintan is realized, when these things are taught, and people start thinking on these lines, all this unfairness and injustice can be removed. Otherwise, it is always difficult. Laws cannot remove. And with a beautiful sloka which we recite regarding this, I will conclude my talk. Sarve pi sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhandhu. Let everybody be happy. Let everybody be prosperous. Let there not be sorrow to everybody. That everybody includes not only human beings, the entire universe. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. I now invite our guest of honor, Justice Sri A.V. Chandrasekhara, former Judge, High Court of Karnataka, to say a few words.
Distinguished dignitaries on their dais, distinguished invitees and guests, respected teachers and beloved students. Mr. Nagaraj mentioned that he is sandwiched between two, even before I could speak. But I can tell you, after hearing both of them, I am sandwiched in between them. Mr. Nagaraj, basically a science graduate, turning himself into an historian. You necessarily know that he has made a lot of research, and his talk is evident. Professor Sinha is a political researcher, made a lot of research. In a nutshell, he has given us an idea of what India is and what are the emerging trends. Of course, with a reference to some point of time. He has taken some point of time to explain his idea in a very beautiful way. Friends, as a judge, as a man having decided some cases both in the trial courts as well as the High Court, I feel that Constitution is relevant. Article 14 of the Constitution of India speaks of equality in all aspects. See, this Constitution was given to us by our founding fathers after a thorough debate for 2 years, 11 months and 16 days. We accepted the Constitution into our results on 26/11/1949, though few of the provisions were made effective from 26/1/1950. Article 53 makes a little departure by providing reservation for women, children, backward classes, and even for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. There are historical reasons for providing such reservations. And of course, reservation will be essential as long as it is required. How long it is required, it is dependent upon fact, and Supreme Court has made it clear that reservation, you have come across Maratha reservation case, the Constitution bench has very clearly demarcated the lines. Now I would like to say one important thing is Article 51A of the Constitution of India, which provides for fundamental duties. There were no fundamental duties when the Constitution was prescribed to us. When we accepted the Constitution to ourselves, there were no fundamental duties. But it was based on Swaran Singh Committee's recommendations. Swaran Singh was the Foreign Minister of India during Indira Gandhi's regime. On the basis of the recommendations, of course, they were all introduced during emergency. One important provision is Article 51AJ, which speaks about collective intelligence and individual collective excellence and individual excellence. I rate this part of the Constitution as a more important one, where it's true that we should fight for rights, but at the same time, rights will have no meaning if we do not perform our corresponding duties. These inequities to justice, that so-called which we call as inequalities, if they are to go away from us, we have to study our Constitution. And India, Mr. Nagaraj was telling whether we should call it as India, as Bharat. So we always know a land which lies to the south of seas and to the south of Himalayas is Bharat. And those who live in are Bharatiyas. Therefore, there cannot be any confrontation about that aspect. We are all Bharatiyas. Some might be called as India, we call it as India, no problem. So, India means Bharat. So, we should be proud of our India. And one important aspect that we must be proud of is when we walk along the streets and if somebody is selling groundnut, you will have a QRP code and you need not pay in cash. So, he has a bank account. The money you pay through PhonePe will go to his bank account. What a great revolution. For the past 7-8 years, we had not seen this revolution at all. And one revolution, as a judge, I would like to say that using Article 142 of the Constitution of India, was an extraordinary power vested in the Supreme Court to do complete justice between the parties. I say, I am heading a committee appointed by the Supreme Court to look into certain issues relating to Dr. Shivaram Karanth's grave. It's in the offing. There are many challenges. So one application was filed on behalf of BDA seeking some directions. So that's how our committee was appointed. I was made the chairman. We have been seeing that houses have been built without permission, and even if permission is obtained from non-competent authorities. Otherwise, when land is proposed for acquisition, they can be raised, and the person who is entitled can only have a right to compensation. But no, on the basis of our recommendation, of course, on the cues given by the Supreme Court, thousands of houses are being protected. Now they are not demolished, they are being regularized. Shortly we will be issuing a regularization certificate, and I am very happy that some of the law students of our own CMR college, they helped us in collecting a lot of information and doing justice. This is how Supreme Court, I tell you, there are some teachers who take law into its natural course. And one important thing is the Rama Janma Bhoomi judgment. It is not the question whether Hindus won or Muslims not. But this was a very tense case. This was haunting people. This was haunting India for several decades, So from 1851 up to that, the judge who presided over that case took courage, and a constitution bench of 5 judges was selected, and a unanimous judgment was given. And see now, the judgment was given to such an extent that there was absolutely no quarrel over that. That's how the Supreme Court is also active. So we think that brighter days are there. Mr. Nagaraj has referred to some elements in the society. Such elements must be there according to me. They must be always criticize us. Let them criticize. Some people criticize in a very positive way. Some people criticize in a negative way. Let us take in an equanimity. And we have a history and we are capable of facing any challenges and finding solutions. And this history will become more greater. I am very grateful that Shri K.C. Ramurthy ji, the respected chairman of the institution, who has a commitment to give quality education. His family is committed to give a quality education. I am seeing it, and he has established a Center for Studies on New India, and to see how emerging trends in a New India, irrespective of the office, irrespective of the party who will be in power. This is a thing. This must be an ongoing thing. I'm very happy. I congratulate Mr. Ramurthy in particular and their institution in general for taking up these ideas with greater depth. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. I deem it my privilege to welcome Shri K.C. Ramamurthy, Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha and Chairman CMR Group of Institutions for the Presidential Address.
Professor Dr. Rakesh Sinha, one of our most distinguished and elderly person who is continuously trying to work for the upliftment of the society, Shri Nagarajji, our friend, guide and philosopher, Justice C. Chandrasekharji, Dr. Krishna Ramamurthy, Dr. T. R. Subramania, Dr. Praveen, ladies and gentlemen. All of you have heard Dr. Sinha. Dr. Sinha is not only a great thinker, he is a great human being. Some of you might have heard him talking in the parliament. He reflects on the problems of every section of the society in greater detail with a lot of commitment. Not only in parliament, in various forums that is available, he always advocates for equity and justice. I am very proud that I am with him in the parliament. My friends, you must understand, when Dr. Sinha stands to speak in the parliament, everyone in the parliament, irrespective of the political identity, listen with apt attention and silence. His presence here today to be part of this deliberations on justice and equity is really very, very encouraging for all connected with the Center for Studies on New India. In fact, when I casually browsed the subject with him, I should say that he was a catalyst to see that it takes proper shape and it is presented properly before the society. Dr. Nagaraj, as I mentioned, has very effectively deliberated on the subject, and he has made everyone to realize how important the country is, how important Bharat is, how important the mother and child relationship is. So I thank you very much for a very enlightening address, and I need not mention about Justice Chandrasekharji. I was telling him, sir, I should listen to you more because various constitutional implications, various constitutional provisions in such a simple manner with all examples and how it is relevant to the society. Justice Chandrasekharji has always been telling, and today was no exception, so thank you. The Center for Studies on New India has been established by the CMR University of Legal Studies with the noble objective of studying in new. And as Dr. Sinha mentioned, the Resilient India that seeks not only to be self-reliant but also to be a significant contributor to global peace in our current geopolitical scenario. The center attempts to pursue a variety of meaningful activities in order to achieve this purpose. Primarily, as an institution seeking academic excellence, the center will undertake to conduct crucial research and other related activities, including publication of books, monographs, videos, and a similar material so that the burning issues related to the development and administration of the country reaches the common man. In the new and resilient India, the country is, as mentioned by Dr. Sinha and Professor Nagaraj and Dr. Chandrasekhar, is witnessing overall development in all sections of the society. We can see constructive combination of religion and spirituality to achieve social and economic upliftment. It is visible everywhere. It's not that, it's not only in thought. All these things are seen in practice. New India emerging as Vishwaguru with vibrant, multilateral, engaged foreign policies. Our policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, professed effectively and accepted by almost all the countries, is a great booster. India is the Vishwaguru now, no doubt about it. We have in New India respect for our partners. We are helping our neighbors and transform our policy of Panchashil to Panchamrit. Panchamrit is what? Is Samman, honor and dignity, which every Indian wants, which the world is recognizing and honoring us with that. Samvad, with events, engagement and dialogue in various activities, in various issues pertaining to national and international activities. Samruddhi, we are prosperous, we want to be prosperous, but we are objective of sharing prosperity with others, shared prosperity. And Suraksha. Suraksha is, of course, all of us are interested in our own security. It is regional, and we are also interested in global security. That's why when Russia and Ukraine war is going on, both Ukraine and Russia, the only country with which they have developed liaison is India. Why is this? Because India is recognized as a Vishwaguru, and we look towards India for all the advice, for all the decisions, for all the future course of action. And this is our part of our culture, as Mr. Nagaraj was mentioning, Sabhyata, our cultural strength and our cultural and civilizational linkages. As Dr. Sinha was mentioning, with our Buddhism, we try and develop links with all the Buddhist countries because it is the home of Buddhism, with various activities pertaining to our cultural yoga. Wherever it's possible, we are trying to develop the linkages and establish ourselves as a better power to be seen in the country. That is where the new India is emerging, that's where the new India is seen. Not that slogans are not new to India. We had Garibi Hatao. We have seen that comprised of all the 20-point programs. Where is it? What is the achievement? What is that we are talking? What is that we are mentioning? It can be in the book form, it can be in the debate form, but ultimately whether it is reaching the downtrodden, the needy, correctly, properly, effectively, that is very, very crucial and very important. India is from non-alignment, we are going towards balanced engagement, from rhetoric to strategy. The way the government has democratized the Padma Awards, where unknown, unspoken activities of people, not alone to the society, nobody recognizes them, are being recognized. The way we are asking to empower our Nari Shakti, so as Sinhaji and Nagaraji mentioned, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao program, Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana, Prime Minister Ujjwala scheme, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Poshan Abhiyan, Matrutva Vandana Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, Prime Minister's Jyoti Yojana, Mudra Yojana, Triple Talaq, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and so many, it goes endless. And these schemes are not on paper. all these schemes are being regularly monitored by the Prime Minister himself. No question of any minister or any department. Just it's there. Okay, we're doing that, and nobody can give any wrong impression, wrong opinion, or wrong statistics. It's all known. It's all monitored very, very systematically, and all these programs are reaching the downtrodden, reaching the connected people. This is where we are able to win the confidence of the people. Dr. Sinha has very effectively detailed the various other initiatives that have been achieved towards bringing an average Indian almost on par with every other person economically and politically. Friends, Yamad University has ventured into research and inviting eminent scholars from different domains in order to build an ongoing narrative on development in progress. The center, under the leadership of Professor Subramania, will also organize collaborative programs with top institutions in the country towards successful achievement of its objectives. Further, field studies will be conducted for the purpose of understanding things from the point of view of the common man. In spite of the dynamic nature of change, the center also seeks to emphasize the great advantage accrued to our country through the ethos of our timeless cultural values. Our leaders who fought for the country, as Nagaraj was very clearly mentioning, were dedicated men of integrity and honesty. They had lots of expectations about what an independent India would achieve for its common people. Over time, we have realized that most of these expectations have remained unfulfilled. Corruption has manifested to a different level, and with Modi's initiatives, systematically, step by step, it is coming under control. All of us are very keen to see a day when the corruption will be at the minimum. However, in recent times, our government, with the new vision to correct the iniquities and render justice, has engaged in multifaceted developmental activity. We have followed a series of policies and programs to improve the day-to-day life of common Indian. In consequence, all of us are aware that our foreign exchange reserves went up even during the trying and testing circumstances like the pandemic to almost 650 billion. It's a record. It was not there earlier. We exported about 8 million tons of wheat. New India is not a polemical slogan, but a concept with substance. There is visible paradigm shift from India that was and new India that is. The successes are many, and the people have reaped benefits not only of many schemes designed to make their lives better, but also policy changes that have ensured that a country receives the kind of recognition and respect that it deserves in the global arena. Honorable speakers have addressed the issues at hand in an admirable manner. I thank each one of them for sparing their very, very valuable time, and all of us are highly encouraged and educated on various issues. Thank you, sirs, and thank you very much for all of you for listening to us patiently for such a long period. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. With this, now the house is open for the question-answer session, and the audiences are most welcome to put forward their questions. If you have questions, please raise your hand. Do we have any question? Yeah, we have one.
My question, my name is Pawan, I'm a first year LLB student. So my question is to all of them. Especially Professor Sinha, sir, he was talking about like a new India, contemporary, like all those things, the ideas we have to connect to before pre-colonial times, our civilization, Bharat and all. My question is like, what things since independence have we done to address the issue of coloniality, the way of seeing our culture through the colonial lens?
This is a very good question. We had all the laws framed by the British rulers. Laws framed in 18th, 19th and early 20th century. 1947 to 2014, it never came into our rulers of mind of the Indian rulers that such obsolete laws which are hampering the development, mental, physical and social, political developments of the country should be scrapped. In 2014, for the first time in the history of India, 14 to 15, almost 1200 laws framed during the British regime. One of the laws said that if you got 10 rupees, you have not reported the relevant revenue authority, then you would be arrested. There were aircraft law 1934, framed in 1934. So all the laws were scrapped. So the best thing is between the two, that colonialism has imposed on us certain ideas. It is not the $49 trillion bonds they have extracted from India. What Dada Bhai Naroji once wrote, poverty and British rule in India in 1901. But the extraction of $49 trillion recently Ussa Patnaik of Jawaharlal Nehru University is finding. But what is that? The entire colonial system made us subordinate to the Europe. What Europe thinks, we think today. What Europe says, we repeat that. That thing is being changed. That Indian knowledge system is being revived. And that Indian knowledge system that is being unearthed. All of us don't know what was the Indian knowledge system, how rich it was. I'm giving one example that you understand. Nadia is a place in Bengal that was known as Oxford of India. In fact, Oxford should be known as Nadia of England. Nadia was a place where the higher system of education prevailed. Teachers have cottages, they were teaching, high level of philosophy was so high. But nobody knows about the Nadia. The many philosophical content of India which had been generated. Just I am giving an example of that. The philosopher Derrida and Foucault, two contemporary thinkers in Europe, they all extracted the philosophy of Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, and they just interpreted in their own sense. So what they extracted from us, they are delivering to us. I am giving one, and last I am ending, that there is a Vijnana Bhairav Tantra, there is a book. In that there is a conversation between Lord Shiva, Bhagwan Shiva and Parvati. Parvati asks Lord Shiva, how could we realize the reality transcending the time and space? There is 112 methods of meditations. Shiva says, after doing 112 these meditations, you can transcend the time and space and realize the reality. Now you see all modern science doing research on consciousness. We are forgetting. That I say wishful forgetfulness of Indians. So we should come out from that wishful forgetfulness and we should realize the worth of our philosophy, our culture, our civilization, but not closing our eyes to the development in the West.
So, in continuation of what Professor Sinha has explained, please understand, we are not against any good idea even from West. Such of those laws and legislations which are consistent with the constitutional provisions are held to be valid in terms of Article 13 of the Constitution of India. Such of those laws or provisions of such laws which are not consistent with the Constitution of India will be definitely reviewed, and Mr. Sinha has said a lot of legislations which are found to be inapplicable for the present are being, scrapped. Now, for example, a great exercise is being undertaken by the Government of India, that is the Home Ministry, for amending the criminal justice legislations. For example, IPC, CRPC and Evidence Act. Such of those provisions which are found to be valid and applicable to the present context, they will be retained. Otherwise, those provisions which are found to be not compatible with the present situation will be definitely scrapped. So such exercise has started, and please read for one important book. All of you will have to read is Case for India by Will Durant. One book, I think he's an American, but he has given an exact account of how Britishers exploited us by creating artificial droughts and what a plunder was done. And if you read that, you will understand. Please, I request the college authorities to see that our students write Case for India by Will Durant.
Thank you, Baba, and thank you, sir. Now we move ahead to the next question, and that will be the last question for today.
Question is to Sinha sir. Sir, as you said that in New India we need to fight against a lot of forces who are against our diversity. What steps we as youths, what minimal steps we as youths can take to fight against those forces and contribute towards the notion of Naya Bharat?
You know, there are two things. Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism means many subcultures exist together, respecting each other. That's fine. It should be. But question of enjoying the fruits of multiculturalism and contributing the perpetuation of multiculturalism, both are two different things. I can enjoy the fruits of the Constitution, but my behavior individually, or a member of a group, or member of an ideology, or member of a community, or member of a class, how much my behavior, my philosophy, my perspective contribute to strengthening the multicultural. Multiculturalism is not for me also. Multiculturalism is for the posterity. Multiculturalism is the past. That you have to decide. Where people are contributing or who people are not contributing. So best thing for the youth is that I say that India requires the Renaissance. Renaissance, that is a cultural Renaissance. Going to the people with the force of idea. And you know, the Britishers had go through the census as a law student. You must read. The 1872 to 1941, there were 8 censuses conducted the British regime. That was not a census conducted by school teachers and clerks. Census conducted, enumeration is a small thing. Census conducted by the best British mind, best European mind. People like you and me went to the remotest area of India, talked to their tribal people, understood their language, understood their custom, understood the differences between two tribals, two communities, two traditions, and articulated in the word. So when the Constitution writes in preamble, we the people, what is we the people? Diversity is articulated with the people as oneness. Therefore, the present use I'm underlying three things you have to do. This is very important because when idealizing something and bringing it on the ground is very difficult task. One, that our words and action in any manner should not disrupt the future. Number one, we must be deterrent to anybody, whosoever may be, trying to extract diversities for a political, social, cultural gain in a particular context in a selfish manner. So a strong public opinion should be created. Third thing, when society is made insensitive, then immorality prevails. You don't care what is happening. In a sensitive society, morality prevails. Because it is not the only parents. Everybody becomes the parents of the tradition, culture, behavior. So, making Indian societies to a large extent sensitive. Their collective sensitiveness has to be restored. This cannot be done by the elder people. This can be done by the younger generation. Taking self-assignment to recreate India. And because India has been open to the world, that's why Nalanda University attracted the thousands of students and teachers from outside the country. तो जिसको हम कहते हैं ज्ञान पर हमला, that is attack on the knowledge. So we are the only civilization which is idea-based civilization, not the material-based civilization. World experimented with the Roman civilization, that was materialistic civilization, and when it didn't give importance to the idea, despite the material growth, the civilization collapsed. India, despite the attack on its materialism, matter, despite the attack on its people, despite the attack on its geography and sovereignty, India existed as an idea. That's why I said Constitution is the product of idea of India, not the idea of India is the product of the Constitution. So we all have to strengthen idea of India. Best thing is that Bhagwan Buddha's sutra, Atto Dipabhava. अपना प्रकाश स्वयं बनो. Self enlightenment is the best thing which Bhagwan Buddha said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now welcome Professor Dr. V.J. Klaleshwaran, Director, CMR University School of Legal Studies, to propose the vote of thanks.
I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of CMR University School of Legal Studies, Center for Studies on New India. We would like to express our deepest thanks to our Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Rakesh Sinha, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, for delivering an insightful keynote address. I request Shri K.C. Ramamurthy, IPS retired, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, and Chairman, CMR Group of Institutions, to kindly honor the Chief Guest and also hand over a memento. I request Dr. K.C. Ramamurthy, Vice Chancellor, CMR University, to join in the felicitation. We are grateful to Sri V. Nagaraj, Honorary Secretary, Committee Society, Bangalore, for addressing the gathering. I request our beloved Chairman to kindly honor the guest of honor and also hand over a memento. We are grateful to Honorable Mr. Justice Devi Chandrasekhara, former Judge High Court of Karnataka, for addressing the gathering. I also request our beloved Chairman to kindly honor the guest of honor and also hand over a memento. We thank Dr. Praveen, Registrar, CMR University, and Dr. T.R. Subramania, Dean, School of Legal Studies. We are thankful to Dr. Sri Devanand for his august presence. We also thank all the officials of the university for their presence. We thank all the distinguished invitees present here for accepting our invitation. We thank all the deans, directors, faculty, and students of all the universities present here. We also thank Sri Stephen David for accepting our invitation being present here. We thank the print and electronic media for their wide coverage of this event. We thank all those who assisted us in making this event a success. Thank you.